Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Discovering Multifamily Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Scandariato with Red Knight Properties. And today we have a special guest here with us, Ramez Fakhoury, and he is the Vice President at the IRA Club. Last week, we had a guest to speak about potential changes to the IRA as an investment vehicle into private companies and private placements, including real estate. Ramez has a different outlook on that as well. So this is a very current event and topic. And we do want to learn about the industry as a whole. And Ramez has had over 20 years of experience in real estate and financial services. And obviously, like I said, he's the VP of IRA Club. And his mission is to open doors and opportunities to educate, inspire, and allow his investors to diversify outside of the norm. So very, very interested and very excited to have him on the show today to learn more about IRA Club. Thanks for coming on, Ramez.
Anthony, thank you. Actually, I should backtrack and say, as you mentioned, our mission is to open doors, opportunities through education. I want to first and say thank you to you and your company, because you're in line with a lot of the things that we do here at IRA Club, is pushing education first, getting the word out there. As you mentioned, we are a self-directed IRA company based out of Chicago, Illinois. And one of the things that we, again, take great pride in is educating people outside of the norm, outside of, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. And I know a lot of people are very much excited and actually more so weary and afraid and not a lot of uncertainties out there, right, Anthony? Because everyone has heard of the Ways and Means proposal, and everybody is freaking out. But truth be told, they're throwing everything at the kitchen sink. I mean, they threw an 880-page proposal on how do we generate an extra $2.2 trillion. And a little bit of that is coming to retirement accounts, towards the IRAs, solo 401ks. In fact, all qualified retirement accounts. It's not those two that are really designated within our industry of self-direction. And I should say self-direction is a marketing term that we use also in our industry. Self-direction is a way to diversify first and foremost outside of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. So when you think of IRA Club, I want you to think of the Fidelities, Vanguards, and Schwabs of the world, right? The only difference between them, the classical brokerage firm, and our firm is we allow you to invest in alternatives, right? So this is where self-direction is very powerful, because we don't just push the market, right? So we look at real estate, land, syndications, alternatives, and everything really that's working against the market. Not to say that IRA Club doesn't offer stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. We do, but at the same time, what do? We educate people on looking outside of that, especially now more than ever. Anthony, you know this better than anybody. Everything's working against the market right now. We know that taxes are on the rise. We know inflation, I believe, as of last month, I think it was somewhere between 5.4%. So keep that in mind when you talk about, Fidelity, Vanguard, and Schwab giving you somewhere between 8 to 9% within your mutual fund. No, you have to subtract that 5.4%. And let's include, let's not forget about these little fees that a lot of people tend to forget about. So a best case scenario, because I do believe inflation's here to stay, we're talking about at least breaking out even. And you have to look at diversifying outside of the stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. You can't have the mindset of set it and forget it anymore. That concept has flown the coop. That's why we have seen here firsthand at IRA Club, our investors are thinking outside the box, literally outside of the box. The way that people are looking at alternatives now more than ever, it's really gratifying to see, because all of that education, Anthony, that you put into educating your clients and your members is the same thing that we do here at IRA Club. And that's why we're super excited for the future of our industry, even though everyone's freaking out. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But I want to talk a little bit, maybe, Anthony, about the history behind self-directed IRAs that will lead into where we're at today. So a lot of people don't understand. The IRA, the individual retirement account, was established back in 1974. I'm sorry, 1972. My apologies. 1972, September 2nd. And the real reason why it was established back then was because the Treasury Department and Congress kind of read in between the lines. Hey, listen, we know where pensions were at back then. They started, they weren't offered as they were back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. They started to see it less and less. We know where we're at today with pensions. They're basically non-existent. We already know the state of Social Security and other government programs such as Medicare and Medicaid. In fact, in 2020, this was our worst as far as government programs, and specifically these three, which is Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. The Congress and the Treasury Department, I think they dished out $2.2 trillion out of their own pockets. So again, where do you think all of this is coming from? It's coming from this bailout program of the $9 trillion. So that's where we feel like everything's working against the market right now, that you have to look at alternatives. So that is the history behind, not to mention where we're at currently. Biden has made it very clear. This is the first time ever the Treasury Department and the Biden administration are full support of each other, because you simply cannot put $9 trillion and then the extra $2.2 trillion for the infrastructure program and whatever else that they're going to be throwing out there, that everything is working against you again, that you have to look for alternatives, that we understand as an industry that everything is shifting. Everything, the way that money is moving is completely, not only for somebody's personal funds, but also their retirement funds. And the people that really do understand that more than ever are the people that are accredited investors, people that are traditionally in the 32% tax bracket or higher. That doesn't mean that, the average American shouldn't be looking at alternatives. They should. It's a little bit harder. I understand that, but they're out there. All you got to do is jump online, Google it. You'll find an investment opportunity that works in your favor outside of the market. Remember, inflation works in your favor. You have to ride that wave in the alternative space. So that is who we are as a nutshell. IRA Club is a self-directed IRA administrator based out of Chicago, Illinois, that allows you not only to diversify inside the market, but also into such assets as Anthony and his team are doing at Red Knight. So one of the things, Anthony, that you said you wanted to discuss quickly, or not quickly, because we could sit here all day long talking about it, is going to be what the Ways and Means Committee has proposed. I want people to take a breath, take a step back. Okay, do not freak out. IRAs, self-directed IRA accounts, IRAs, solo 401ks, they have been mentioned a total of 5 times in an 880-page proposal. Again, they threw the kitchen sink at Congress, at the Senate, at the House of Representatives, because they need to figure out ways to recuperate $2.2 trillion. Do I think that recuperation is going to come from retirement accounts? No, I personally do not think that at all. Here's the reason why. Most people that are freaking out are they don't understand one simple thing. One of the proposals is they want to put a cap at a $10 million Roth IRA account. I do believe a little bit of this is political. It's a little bit geared towards Peter Thiel. If nobody understands or who knows who this man is, he has a little bit over a $5 billion Roth IRA account. He was just a super smart investor, got very early involved with Facebook and PayPal, among some other things that he has invested in. And obviously his Roth IRA took off, okay, into the billions. But what most people may or may not know is he was a huge advocate of Trump. He was a huge Trump supporter. Now that Trump is no longer in office, a lot of these people are kind of gearing this towards Peter Thiel and how do we get our portion of the I believe it's $5.2 trillion. Billion. My apologies, billion. So that is the reason why they want to put a cap at 10 million plus. What most people do not understand is there are only in the United States 500 accounts that have $10 million or more. Okay, 500 in total. To give it to you in better perspective, I think there's roughly a little over 62 million IRA accounts, of which only 1.8 out of the 62 million have $1 million or more. Take a breath. Let's get to 1 million first, rest of America, before we talk about 10 million. It is very hard to get to $10 million. Okay. Now, do I feel like there's going to be more millionaires in the next 10 years? Yes. You can't put $9 trillion into the economy and think that that number is not going to grow. That also includes retirement funds. That number is definitely going to grow. So again, if there is out of the 5 that is going to pass, I do believe that is one of them. They do want to put a limit on that. Again, let's get to 1 million, everybody, please. Again, quite difficult to do, but not impossible. You just have to understand that you can't put it all within the market. You have to diversify. The true definition of diversification inside a retirement account. I have real estate such as parking spots. I have syndications. I have cryptocurrency. I have stocks. I have, my God, what else? I have syndication. Like I may have mentioned syndication, so my apologies. But again, diversification is the key to a successful retirement, because you cannot rely on what? Social Security. What you do need to concentrate on is where the rest of this money is coming from, because Biden has made it very clear taxes are going up across the board. Doesn't matter what tax bracket you're in, but most hit is going to be the 37% tax bracket or higher. We already know this, talking about going from 450 to 400. They're talking about addressing whether a passive, if you're making over 400,000, an extra 3.8% increase on passive taxes. We already know that they're talking about doubling Social Security to 12.7, I believe, or 12.6. My apologies. To address the issue with Social Security. But again, you have to be able to create your own pension. The only way that you could do that is through diversifying within a retirement account, whether it's a solo 401k and or an IRA. So that's one of the main proposals that I want to get that out of the way. That likelihood of that passing, I do see it. Has it? We don't know yet. The next one that I would say has a better chance of passing is going to be ownership within a private company. In the past, I'll use myself again as a perfect example. I actually know not too many people know this about me, but I actually come from the hospitality world. I have 20 plus years. I do own 4 restaurants in the city of Chicago that I do have partnerships in, roughly 5% or less. But I have used some of my retirement funds to invest within a restaurant group, and a restaurant group that I know very well. So with that being said, I was never allowed in the past to have 50% or more of that ownership. They're talking about in the committee, the Ways and Means Committee proposal, to drop that down from 50 to 10. That is a significant drop off. But again, is it the end of the world? No, I don't see it as being a big deal and or an issue. Not too many people do it anyways here at the IRA Club, not that we've seen. So I just want people to be aware that it is there. Another issue that people within that proposed bill is going to be whether you have it within an LLC. So checkbook control, an LLC. So if you're a private entity, the solo 401k, for example, and checkbook control. Calm down. There's a workaround. Okay. All we got to do is retitle it in the name of the custodian or the trust company. That's it. It's going to cost you a little bit of a few $100s to do so. Don't freak out. It could be done very easily. You could call us here at the IRA Club. You could email us. Simply go to iraclub.org. We could walk you through that process. Not difficult at all. The other 3 I think are very far-fetched. One of them is going to be the Roth, the amount that you can contribute to a Roth IRA. If you make 400,000 or more, they are saying that you cannot contribute to a Roth. Forgive me. You can. Let me backtrack a second. I do apologize, Anthony. I think I made a mistake. So currently, the way it's structured is if you make over 106 inside your within whether it's passive and or active, you cannot contribute to a Roth. The new proposal is saying that you cannot do a backdoor Roth. Okay. That is what the new proposal is saying, up to $400,000. So if you make $400,000 or more, you could not do a backdoor Roth. However, there is a loophole and people are not talking about it. If you contribute, we would establish, let's say, for example, here at the IRA Club, we would establish a traditional IRA. You would contribute to the traditional IRA, wait 1 full year, and then just convert it over to a Roth. You just got to wait 12 months. In my personal opinion, wait 12 months, be on the safe side, pay taxes on it, because ultimately, what do you think the IRS and the Treasury Department cares about? Taxes, their money, to generate money at all times. They don't care whether they get it up front or on the back end. That's the deal, okay? So you can't do a backdoor Roth, but you still could do a Roth conversion. The other part of that proposal is going to be, if you are making over $400,000 or more, they're going to eliminate the Roth conversion altogether, but not until 2031, 10 years. Do you think you have more than enough time in 10 years to do a Roth conversion? Absolutely. The other thing I want you to be aware of is, and Dennis Blitz, president of IRA Club, very well respected in our industry. Most people don't know this about him. He actually attends a lot of these meetings, at least a little bit when he was more active. He just celebrated his 75th birthday, doesn't travel as much as he would like to, definitely thinking about retirement. Did in the past attend a lot of these meetings. And he will tell me firsthand, and said it to me firsthand, that within those 10 years, there's going to be someone that's going to amend that. Okay. Again, the Treasury Department wants people to contribute to their Roth IRA accounts, to their traditional IRA accounts, to their 401k accounts. It alleviates the pain of Social Security. It's setting people up, because otherwise, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with Social Security. If we do not raise the age limit, if we do not minimize how much, or we don't raise the taxes, it's going to be gone within our lifetime. Again, when it was first established, most people do not understand this. There were 34 retirees. I'm sorry, 34, my apologies, 34 workers for every one retiree. Today, it's 2 to 1. By 2030, it's going to be 1 to 1. So we have to do something to address it. So do you think that the Treasury Department wants Congress to pass anything that's going to hurt IRA accounts or 401k accounts or any qualified retirement account? Absolutely not. It works against them. As a country, it works against us. So again, don't worry or freak out. One of the other proposals, and please forgive me, I believe it's going to be, forgive me, the accredited versus non-accredited. For accredited investors, that they could no longer use their retirement funds to invest within a private entity, a private placement, or a private company. All right. That is so far-fetched. That will decimate the small business owners, people that are looking to raise capital. Is it that the American dream is to come here to the United States and make something of yourself, to be able to pitch, talk, raise capital, to again, where do you think Facebook or PayPal came from? They were a small company at one point that grew. Again, isn't that the dream? Just because Peter Thiel invested in this company, does that make him wrong? No, it just makes him a smart businessman. But you just, again, I touched a lot of people the wrong way, I guess, within Congress. Again, a little bit political, all right? That would be one of the things I would not worry about. There's too much of a headache behind it. Part of that proposal is you have 2 years to get rid of those funds. A lot of these private placements are structured 3, 5, or 7 years. Do you think that these companies will be like, oh yeah, no problem, let me go ahead and give you back your money? No, that is not going to happen. So again, Congress is aware of that. And again, it's not that Congress is aware of it, because truth be told, Congress hasn't seen this. No one in the House of Representatives and or the Senate has seen any of this yet. These are all just proposals. Take a step back. Again, one of the things I want you to be very wary of are lobbyists. One of the things in our industry is, and it's sad to say this, is not something that we're educated on, right? I mentioned the norm, the set it and forget it model. We also know, we call it the herding method. If everybody is doing it, it must be the right thing to do. Like, think about this, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, the way everything was structured back then was get a job, open up a 401k plan or 403b, 457, TSP if you work for the government, contribute to it, and let these larger brokerage firms invest the money for you. There is roughly $34 trillion. Most of America's wealth is sitting within retirement accounts. Who controls the majority of this? The larger institutions, the Fidelities, Vanguard, Schwabs, the TDs of the world. In fact, Fidelity, one of the founders, the largest, owns a little under 33% of all qualified retirement accounts. Do you think that, knowing that everything is working against them, taxes are on the rise, inflation is at 5.5%, here to stay? Some people think that's on the low end. I don't think it's going anywhere for at least 5 years. Do you think that these lobbyists that work for these larger groups are throwing gasoline to the fire? Absolutely. Because this is a growing field. This is a growing asset class. The self-direction of your retirement funds is just only going to go in one direction, and they're terrified of that. Right now, it's only 3% of that $34 trillion is self-directed, 3%. And in particular, it's really 3% of IRA accounts, because ultimately the only way that you can self-direct is taking your old employer's plan and rolling that over into an IRA account. That's how we do it. So ultimately, all qualified retirement accounts will have to roll over or be transferred over into an IRA account. And it's actually a rollover. That's the right terminology. Then you could do an IRA to IRA transfer anytime that you like. There's no penalty for doing so. You could do it as many times as you want. An IRA to IRA transfer, a rollover, you're allowed one time per year. All right. One of the other things that is part of that is the solo 401k that you could no longer contribute to a Roth solo 401k. That is because the Roth contributions are at 19.5. The only time that you could qualify for a solo 401k, let's keep this in the back of our heads. There's not too many people that could qualify for a solo 401k. That is if you are a sole proprietor of yourself, an LLC, and or establish a C Corp or S Corp. Okay, that's the only time that you could, and it has to profit. Okay, most people forget that too. You have to have positive inflow of funds in order to contribute to a solo 401k. The only thing now is one of the proposals is they do not want you to contribute to a Roth solo 401k. All right, is there a loophole behind it? Yes, I just told you that you can take your solo 401k and roll that over into a traditional IRA in order to do a Roth conversion to a Roth IRA after, let's say, a year. There is an answer to every single one of these potential new proposals. I don't see all of them passing. I remember back when Obama was president, I remember he tried putting a cap on the Roth IRA. If at first it was 10 million, then he dropped it on the next proposal to 5 million. I'm sorry, it started off, forgive me again, Anthony, it started off with 1 million, then he tried 5 million, then he tried 10 million. They all got shot down because, keep this in the back of your mind, the majority of the people within Congress have IRA accounts, Roth IRA accounts. Do you think that they want their retirement funds to get hit? Absolutely not. So again, I know, Anthony, that was a lot of information given in a short period of time. If anyone does have any questions regarding these, there's a lot of great videos, articles that we've had, that we've written. Just keep in mind, a lot of it's just, fuel, log to the fire. A lot of it's just lobbyists, just, helping out the classical brokerage firms. They know that this is the alternative space is growing, and it's going to continue to keep growing. So they're trying to put a cap on it by writing a lot of these articles that just take it with a grain of salt. Don't freak out. Do your due diligence. Educate yourself. Education minimizes risk. All right. That's the point of what we do. Anthony, ourselves, IRA Club. So again, I hope this was very helpful. The process itself, I promise you, is not difficult. That is the other artificial, I call them artificial restrictions, is a lot of the times, a lot of our clients, our past clients, I will tell you this up front. If they found this great investment opportunity, let's say a syndication or a house on 123 Green Street, and they go to their fiduciary or broker, or whoever, wherever your retirement funds are located, and they say, I found this great opportunity. I could generate passive income back into that creates double-digit returns, 12, 14, 15%, whatever the case may be. You just have to find it. They will say, I'm sorry, that isn't part of our portfolio. However, there's this REIT that if you like to get involved in, a publicly traded REIT. If that was a good broker or fiduciary that's supposed to be working in your best interest, they would tell you need to self-direct it. This is not something that we brought up at the kitchen table with mom and dad talking about retirement accounts, okay? Truth be told, it's boring. It's absolutely boring. That's the reason why nobody talks about it, because people think about how to get rich right now. But what makes IRA accounts so sexy is not only can you diversify it, it gives you control back. The self-direction side gives you the control away from the classical brokerage firms in order for you to grow your retirement funds tax-free or tax-deferred. So when Anthony talks about potential 10, 12, 14, 15% returns, whatever those numbers are, when you do it within a self-directed IRA account, it actually add an extra 5 to 10%, depending on the longevity, the amount, traditional and or Roth. Most people don't take that into consideration. Those numbers almost jump by a third. So I want people to be also aware of that. And the process is done in 3 simple steps. It really is 3 simple steps. Open, fund, invest. It takes 10 minutes to open up an IRA account. It takes literally 7 to 10 business days. We have an actual transfers team here at the IRA Club, a true system of checks and balances. Every single person here is assigned an IRA Club specialist to walk you through the process. We make it very streamlined, less stressful or tedious against the actual things that you've been hearing in the past of, this is too difficult, this is too risky, this doesn't work in your favor, don't do that. Those are all, again, I don't want to say things that you hear from your broker or fiduciary or the brokerage firm that you're currently working with. I just tell people, try it one time. The only thing that I can do for you here at the IRA Club is choose the investment for you. That's it. Again, defeats the purpose of what we're talking about, control. So that is what I want you to take away from this, is look outside of the norm. Don't be too wary of all these proposals. Maybe one will pass, and it's really geared towards people because I do feel there's going to be a lot of millionaires made the next 10 years. You can't simply put $9 trillion into the economy again and think that isn't going to happen. It's going to happen. But again, taxes are on the rise. Inflation's here to stay. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. These are all things you have to be wary of in the future. The only way to protect yourself against all of this is yourself. Take control of some of this yourself. It's okay to be invested in the stock market. I've made a lot of money in the stock market myself, but I've also diversified into outside of the market. Anywhere from, I told you, real estate, land. I do cryptocurrency. I do still do the stock market. I just want you to diversify. And that's it in a nutshell. If you guys would like a little bit more information, we have this great kit called the Investors Kit located at iraclub.org. Right on the top page, if you simply put in a promo code, if you wanted to purchase it, it is $195. It takes you through a step-by-step video series into the whole process of backdoor Roths, naming a beneficiary, prohibited transactions, the process itself. And we will give it to you again, because Anthony practices education first for $1. Now, here's the best part about the Investors Kit. We want to keep the ball rolling by offering you a free IRA account your first year. So if you're interested in the alternative space, this might be a good opportunity to do so. So again, iraclub.org. You could reach out to me at ramez@iraclub.org or info@iraclub.org. Telephone number is 312-795-0988. Again, we're not a call center. You get the receptionist and ask to speak to any one of our client care members. Anthony, I hope this was a very educational. Do you have any questions for me?
I had some questions. You answered a lot of them as we continued the dialogue. So I really appreciate your time, Ramez. And
absolutely,
what we'll do is we'll have a link to the IRAClub.com and the Investors Kit, and basically all the links that you just mentioned, including the phone number, in our social media description. And to our audience, if you liked what you heard and or saw today, please give us a rating and review on iTunes. I would greatly appreciate it. It would help Ramez and I get our message out to a larger audience. That's the way iTunes works.
And I also want to add one more thing, Anthony. If anybody does want to reach out to their senator or their state representative or anybody that you think is going to listen to you, or because if it does affect you, maybe it might be a good time just to write a simple letter. Nothing crazy. Again, these are very busy individuals. Few sentences just to say you're really hurting the potential of how I invest. I'm looking to take care of my family, myself, things of that nature. Make it a little bit heartfelt. I will also provide those links to Anthony, and they'll be on the bottom, and you guys could feel free just to simply click on a link, go whatever state you live in, reach out to that person, just write a few sentences, let them know how you feel.
Excellent. We'll have that in our comment section as well. So I did that myself. So feel free to do that. A couple of sentences is perfect. And because they do read them.
Absolutely.
And whether it's them or their staff assistant, it does get read. So keep that in mind. Well, thank you so much, Ramez. Really appreciate it, and look forward to hearing what happens, obviously, in Congress. And we'd love to have you back on after that.
Sounds great, Anthony. Thank you so much for your time. Pleasure, everybody.
Take care.